We have 69 participants. We have 70 participants live. It's now 2:01. So Unfuck My Startup has actually started, and
Great.
we can start the show called Unfuck My Startup, which I just
Let's
love saying because I
go.
just say it,
Let's
say it over and over
unfuck
again.
everything.
With Sam Jacobs, and Sam Jacobs is a very special guest because I think you know this. Like you were the I'm like last year in July, I was like, I don't like the way my LinkedIn content sounds. I want to sound more like Sam. How did that happen? So I tracked Alec down, and it's not like he like taught me how to write or anything, but definitely pointed me in the right direction, right? So thank you because
Thank you. We
upping
talk
my
about you. We talk about you in my home, Adam, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not, this isn't like a, by the way, can everybody see Pete? Is Pete part of the show?
I'm part
yeah,
of the
Pete's
show.
a co-host.
Okay, cool. Great.
Yep.
Because what I say about you is, and my partner's French, so she imitate, she says it in a French accent, but she says, but I say when Adam does something, he goes all in, and he does a small number of things, but when he does them, he's really a perfectionist, and he's not. There's no half measures. And when you decided to go into LinkedIn, like you got the videographer, you got the production team. Anyway, I'm inspired by that. I will say
Well, thank you.
sincerely.
So just before we jump into, I have the such a good story about this topic that I'm going to spend like 2 minutes on. So we're on the clock here, so I got to be careful. But
Yes.
like, I am obsessed with this podcast by David Senra called Founders Podcast. I've talked about it on this show before. And what the podcast is this guy, he's done 350 episodes. He reads a biography of a prolifically successful person, not necessarily business, artists, athletes, whatever. I've listened to literally over 100 of these things, and they're all starting to sound the same. And what I mean is these people who are the prolifically successful people who have shaped our world, they they are all, it's like they live in different times and they do different things, but they all have the same three or four qualities. It's like decades long incredible focus on their craft and love of it, basically. And number two is like undying commitment to excellence. And really what makes the biographies is like stories about how psychotic these people are about their commitment to excellence. That's kind of like the essence of all the biographies. And then, put a great team around you. And then the business guys, all of them have cost controlling focus. So I read this GQ profile about Nick Saban, who is an Alabama football coach. The best distilled version of this essence I've ever heard was there's this guy, Cedric, who's been an assistant coach for 38 years, all the famous guys. When you win a national championship, they put a statue out in front of the stadium of you. Cedric goes, there's two types of coaches at Alabama. There's the ones with the statues and the ones that don't have them. The ones that don't have the statues, they're not the same. The ones that do have the statues are all the same. The ones that don't have the statues are different. The ones who do have the statues are all the same. He said it better. Anyway, let's get into the show. Sam, thank you
Yes,
for
Adam.
joining us. Yeah,
I'm a
thank you
big
for
fan of the
joining.
Founder
Thank you for
Podcast
joining
too,
us.
by the way.
Tell everybody who you are, what you do, and why they should care.
Sure. I'm Sam. I'm the CEO of Pavilion. We manage the best and I guess largest paid membership community for go-to-market operators and executives in the world. You should care because if you're in go-to-market, meaning sales, marketing, customer success, RevOps, you need education, you need peers, you need people to help teach you how to do your job because it's changing by the day. And that's what we help people do. And we're committed to a world of collaboration where people build relationships, not transactions, give before you get, and play a big long game to your point about long-term focus, Adam, versus a short, small game. So that's fundamentally what we do. I think a lot of people know that. And I'm active on LinkedIn just like you.
And when did you
And
start?
I
Oh,
am
sorry.
the Austin CEO liaison for Pavilion. So if anyone
Yes,
lives
you
in
are.
Austin and you want to come to a CEO dinner, hit
Hit
me up.
Adam up. Exactly. Please hit him up.
Yeah, please do. Okay, so here's how the show works. We bring somebody up, so please raise your hand if you want to pitch the room uh, in our pitch slap segment. It's the first 5 minutes of the show. Do we have any hands? Do we have any hands being raised? Pete,
Is
are you
this like
seeing any?
Shark Tank? Do I
Yeah,
participate in?
well, so the deal is, if anybody actually raises their hand, it doesn't look like, it looks like everybody's asleep today. Does anybody?
No, you can't go again.
You
We'll have
can't
to.
go again. Yeah. So we may. Oh, we got James Martin. So here's the deal. We're gonna put up a would you buy it, yes or no, and let James pitch for 2 minutes.
Great.
If would you buy it is above 66% yes, he gets a swag box. Above 33%, he gets a t-shirt. Below 33%, he gets bye-bye.
All
And then we
right.
see if anybody in the crowd books demo.
Prize is Cadillac Eldorado.
Yeah, exactly. Next prize, a steak knife. Next
All right.
prize, steak knife. Third
Um,
prize, you
If
fired.
I
Hey guys, can you
Paul,
hear me?
Yeah, anybody get the Glengarry Glen Ross reference there? Anybody in the
I
crowd, or
got
is
it.
that
I'll take the steak knives.
all right? James, you got a video camera?
I do, yeah, but for some reason it's not coming up. If you want to give
Okay.
me
Well,
permission, I'll.
all right. So how is this going to work? I just launched a poll. So would you buy poll? So as Adam said, someone just said yes already, James. That might have been you. So so
James
we're
can't get
gonna
his video camera to work, but I think we're going to
Yeah, it's not even an option for my permissions, but if it is, I'll do it. But otherwise, just everybody imagine me being very handsome.
yeah.
all right.
Okay.
It's
All right.
believable you have a DJ voice, so you
We
sound attractive.
and we already have two people who would buy, and he hasn't even started yet. All right,
All right, so no
James,
camera.
hit it,
Bummer.
hit it,
All right.
hit it. You got 2 minutes.
Okay, so I'm James, the founder CEO of RallyCore. We have helped for many years nonprofits move or mobilize people to act. So think of Text to Give, YMCA, Livestrong, Sesame Street are some of our clients that use us through radio, television, broadcast, email, you name it, to get people to act in the moment or to mobilize around a cause. We were primarily using smartly.ai and tools like that, driving email, which is funny to me as a mobile first company falling back on email. Not knocking email, email has its place. But recently we launched smarttexting.com to take to the broader market, B2B specifically, what we've been doing for nonprofits. Here's the big idea, really a three-pronged approach. If we can take web traffic using tools like what our B2B is doing, but if we can convert that to automated compliance text messaging, or when someone fills out a form, we trigger a text message, or even using reverse data append to different trace route technologies, we can actually find you a phone number and convert that conversation to a compliant text message. So smart texting leverages AI, Clay, different things like that to drive conversion of online traffic and to what we call A2P, or automated consent text messaging.
How
So
how does that work? How do you get the double opt-in, or how does that work?
well, I'm glad you asked. So placing
Yeah.
a pixel on your website, we can identify if that person already exists in a CRM like HubSpot. We know you already have a first-party relationship with that. We can drop a voicemail or trigger a text message automatically. So that's somebody that you already have a working relationship with. If you don't have a text-enabled relationship with that person, then we would deploy what's called peer-to-peer texting, which really one-to-one text messaging is not automated. So it skirts around some of the TCPA compliance and issues. Again, we'll have to have a longer conversation on that, depending on your use case. But
Yeah.
ideally, in a consumer, like for example, one of our brokerages that works with realtors is converting about 20 to 30% of their web traffic to a text message through what's called peer-to-peer text messaging, one-to-one text messaging that then moves to unlock automation.
All right. Well, that was the 2 minutes.
Thanks.
It is expired. Audience, please give us whether or not you would buy it. And then furthermore, does anybody want a demo? Does anybody want to send text messages to their website visitors in a compliant way? Is it US only?
It is right now US only, although we do have a pilot running in Canada. There's some things that we need to screw around in Canada.
Yeah.
And we do have some UK clients, but I'm going to say US for the sake of the conversation.
I want a demo, or I want to introduce.
Yeah.
All right. So we got Sam. We booked James one demo. Anybody else want a demo of this thing? This is for businesses. We got another demo coming from Guy. Pete,
James, you
we
want to
got
drop
3
the-
demos coming in. I'm curious, by the way, like you people saying no, why would you not be interested in this? This seems like this seems like something that if it in fact works, it's kind of like our product Get Emails back in the day. It's like people are like, well, if that's
Yeah,
possible,
we
I want to do it, you know?
We want to
Um,
unlock text messaging. So it's, yeah, early pilot for smart texting, but we've been doing it for years with nonprofits, and nonprofits are great because there's a little bit of some loopholes with them, but yeah, I've been doing it successful with them for many years.
Steven says too intrusive. Christoph says ideas find Europe is WhatsApp. Yeah, which is crazy big with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Dude,
All right. Thanks for the time,
James,
man.
thank you very much. We're going to give you a t-shirt. I'll follow up with you after. You can go through the comments and see the demos booked. And now we are going to shift to our first segment with Sam, who has got some hot takes about some hot shit.
Oh, I got hot takes, the hottest takes there are.
Okay, so can I give
I
a
have a
little
question.
mini?
First of all,
Yeah.
before we get going, Adam, how do you feel? Did you see the guy from Warmly that like framed a letter that was supposed to be a 6 cent cease and desist and actually was just like some random?
It was a contract cancellation because he was pissed.
Yeah. How do you feel about it when people blatantly copy you like that?
Imitation is flattery.
There you go.
You
Fair
know,
enough.
I don't really care that he's copying. I think, the bet, and I'm actually borrowing from the Founders Podcast thing that I talked about earlier. Uh, by the way, I know Max. I see him fairly regularly. I think the guy's going to be very successful at some point. He's young, and when I was his age, I was copying people too.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Literally,
I
I
wanted
mean, I
to
don't know
be
how else
brief.
to say it. Like the first software that we built, like we copied MailChimp and then realized we were stealing from Constant Contact and had copied MailChimp, so we should just copy Constant Contact instead, and we copied him. So like, I think, it's just part of his journey, and
All right.
it is what
Sorry
it
to
is.
do.
I have another unrelated to him copying me point about that post. I do think that saying something that is untrue about something in a post will just gradually erode trust from you. Like he said it was a cease and desist that was sent to his parents' house and it was not. Like I get why you would write that in a hook, but like that just kind of lets some air out of the bag, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Fair
I,
enough.
I, I wouldn't do
All
it,
right.
Okay.
All right.
So Sam,
You
let me
pull up
give
a
you,
link to that post, by the way. I'll drop it in there, but we won't talk about it anymore during
yeah,
the show.
search for Maximus Greenwald. It's like his third post. Um, Max from Warmly is who we're talking about. Max from Warmly has kind of adopted a lot of the game I'm playing, as have several others, by the way, because it's effective. So Sam,
Yes.
here's why I wanted to have you on. Almost everybody in this room it's probably like 75% early stage founders of software businesses, and it's like 50% below 1 million ARR, 50% between 1 and 10 million ARR, and we're scared because of what's going on with AI. I mean, I'm projecting now. I used to have a secret weapon named Tape Planik. He was a CTO who could like build anything faster than anyone. And now if everyone's got Tate, I don't know where that leaves me. We're seeing marketing channels vanish with no replacement. I think cold email's on its last leg, and that's basically what everyone used to use in the early stage to create the initial awareness. I look at SEO getting housed. That's definitely a later stage in terms of your growth, but it's not being replaced. I don't see phones working for like that many spaces, but like they still do for some. And uh, it's as more companies get created, the competitive dynamic gets worse. So like, what are the moats if you don't have network effects? Maybe there's a data play, but like people love saying brand and community. And then when you say that to this group, the reaction, which by the way, I tried to hire a community guy 2 years ago, Don, who's helping us out now. He wouldn't come work for me because he's like, you don't have the necessary things in place to actually build a community for this product yet. But that's the initial reaction. It's like, dude, you sold me. I'm all in. I want to build a community. What do I do? You know? So, um, so yeah, coming from the guy who's done a better job than anyone at this, what is it? Even if what does it take to get a community off the ground, right? Like, can we just start there? What is community, right? How do you define it?
I guess community is a group of people sharing similar not demographic characteristics, but people aligned around a common perspective or point of view that are committed to supporting and helping each other. Maybe that's one definition of it. I think that the way Listen, my community is my business. I don't have like another business that I'm trying to subsidize or support through the community. And I think one of the biggest challenges that people face when they start a community is the same challenge people face in all of marketing, which is a way of saying that when you're overly transactional and when everybody is aware that the only reason you're doing something is for an ulterior motive that's very transparent, then who really wants to be part of that movement? Because again, the community is about like a set of shared beliefs about the world. So I think one thing that fails is that nobody really wants to join a community to like help some third-party software company. I think people want to join a community because they have problems of their own and they want to collaborate on solving those problems, and because they believe some fundamental thing about the world that the community articulates. And when we started Pavilion as Revenue Collective, the belief was, which frankly I still share, is that operating executives have the hardest job in the company, specifically and directly in contrast to investors and to CEOs and founders. I know that a lot of people on this call probably think what they're doing is the hardest thing to do, but I can tell you that when you're working for somebody else and any moment you could get fired for any number of reasons, and the founder or CEO doesn't have that risk because, like me and you, Adam, we control our businesses. That fundamental reality was one of the common beliefs that we all organized Pavilion around, which is that there needs to be something for operating executives that protects them, enables them, supports them, because they're going to have 50 different jobs over the course of 20 to 30 years. And then we layered on an additional belief, which is that, hey, most of the time life is not competitive. Certainly in certain, categories are competitive, but most of the time we're not directly competing with each other. So it's okay to believe in a world where you can help and support other people, where you can offer a hand, where you can, I mean, even you, what you're doing, Adam, on LinkedIn is sharing information and perspective very openly and transparently. And yeah, it's a useful marketing tool, but also it's useful information. And you're sharing it with people so they can get better. So long-winded, but the point is, I think like fundamentally, the reason that communities fail is the reason most marketing fails, which is that it's completely transactional and hits you over the head. And I think communities work. If you want a community, it's the same thing as you want a brand to work. People have to believe in the brand. You have to be prepared to do it for a long period of time. You have to believe to do what you say, to the point of like the guy writing, misrepresenting the actual post. And you have to be willing to do it for an extended period of time, where the only reason you would do it for that reason is because you aren't doing it for an ulterior motive. Because if you're doing it for an ulterior motive, you'd have some revenue target associated with it way too quickly and way too early. And last thing I'll say is, there's a little bit of a debate, but for me, community is about when you meet up with somebody other than me, Adam, in Austin, that's community. When it's me talking to a bunch of people on LinkedIn, I have an audience on LinkedIn. I don't have a community. Like, for the community to successfully function and be healthy, like, the people need to talk to each other. And also,
Right.
that's also why so many communities fail. Because yes, there needs to be a little bit of a cult of personality like you and me, but fundamentally, the job of the community organizer is to push those ideas into the people themselves so that it doesn't need the figurehead. And when I see communities that I think aren't super successful, it's because the founder of the community is clearly only doing it for their own enrichment and self-aggrandizement and fame. And listen, that's obviously a benefit. That's part of what, that's helped me make me somewhat successful. But fundamentally, I'm trying to like, Pavilion is not about me. Pavilion's about other people connecting with each other. So those are my thoughts.
I love that. Um,
So
I was listening to, yeah, go ahead, Pete.
no, no, I was going to ask the next one. You chime in there.
Yeah, so I was listening to, I'm going back to the point of like, if you're on this call and you're listening to this and you listen to what you said again, and you're like, I'm still in. I want to like build this under my very early stage SaaS that I'm building. Um, I'm stealing this from a podcast that I listened to Chris Walker and Dave Gerhardt talking about this very topic. And Gerhardt was like, if you're starting from zero, I think the first thing you need to do is be able to actually aggregate audience on organic social media around ideas, because then you know that you can, that those ideas are worthwhile, basically. I know you did it in the real world with Revenue Collective, but like, would you say, what do you think about what Gerhard said?
I think, I mean, I certainly think it's interesting and it's very tactical. Like I said, I mean, he's one of the people in my mind, to be completely honest, when I think of people that are not really doing it to help other people, but doing it as like completely a marketing mechanism for self-enrichment. He's kind of the first person I think of. And that's okay. So I think if you're trying to be like hyper tactical about it, sure, start sharing content. Maybe there's th themes to the content, maybe that attracts people, and then maybe you can build a community around that. I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't have any particular problem with it. Again, my like psychologically or emotionally, I just think fundamentally like the idea of community, there has to be something in it for the person that is the community member, that is not just like quasi access to the person that runs the cult who gets to sleep with all the people, you know.
Right.
So that's what I hope. What I hope is that like something I think one of the best companies to do it is probably Clay. If we look at what Clay's done, they created a community, and the community, yes, fundamentally, of course, it's about Clay, but it's like they created these tools, and then they're bringing these people together to like share how they're using the tools. I think that that's like extremely interesting, and frankly, Varun and Kareem, I didn't know who the hell they were. Like they're not on social. I'm sure Varun is now. And now they're paying a bunch of influencers to talk about Clay. But at the beginning, it was really like, let's bring people together because they're trying to solve really interesting problems and maybe they can learn from each other. I think that's a really good motivation. If you have, if you have some interesting tool that gets people fired up and passionate.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about Clay actually, because
Ah,
I thought it was like an interesting example of different community types. So one thing that I did that was wrong was I like bought circle.so way too early, because I was like, oh, that'll be what, you know what I mean? It's like, so what I think is interesting about Clay, and by the way, they don't pay as many influencers as you think. There's just this crazy incentive for the Legion. Legion agencies are basically their power user, and Legion agency content about Clay is better for the Legion agency than anything else they could post. It gets more engagement. So it's just, we tapped into it for a little while. So we had him on our show. We had Bruno on our show talking about that.
oh, cool.
It's a crazy UGC motion that is just very unique to them and this time and like whatever else. But what's interesting is there's that community of people that's like posting on UGC, and I would very much call them a community. Like when these UGC guys, whenever they're in New York, they work at the Clay office. Like
Yeah, that
they're all
sounds
in
like a
they're
community.
all in this like SAS Yacht Club WhatsApp group where they're talking about lead gen all day, and like Jesse Ouellette runs it, but he's not even involved with Clay, but they're all there. And then there's what they call the actual community, which Varun gave me a lecture on this actually, because early doors I was like, I'm just gonna copy what you guys are doing. So it's in Slack, very much like your community is in Slack, but it's not actually a community like your community is a community. They put it in Slack because they wanted a one-to-many customer service
Yeah.
situation, and that is the purpose of their Slack community. So but you don't really know that by looking at it, you know. So it's I just think it's like a really interesting observation that what says community on Clay's website is not actually the community that they would define as the community that they're building. You know, it's like it has a very specific tactical purpose, even though it kind of looks like one of many vendors Slack communities or whatever that they're trying to like do whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
the in the chat was talking about open source communities like WordPress. We were talking about that yesterday a little bit. I mean, Reddit is basically a platform for open source communities. I mean, the biggest Shopify community is probably the Shopify subreddit. So there's all these interesting places where they sort of form out of.
Yeah,
Uh,
and by the way, we don't think of like Alexis every time. I mean, we might think of, but that everybody's not there to like meet Alexis, you know? They're there to like, to your point, to be in like 50 million subreddits and to like help each other, to yell at each other, to et cetera, which is that is like for me the true definition is like all of these people interacting with each other, not necessarily like all bowing down to, you know, the god at the head of the temple.
Yeah, so actually Adam and I yesterday were talking about sort of essential steps to community building. Like our community right now is 0 to 1 founders. A lot of people are sub 1 million in revenue. And the most common trend there is people getting ahead of themselves, thinking they're further along than they are. And that has a lot, bad repercussions for a lot of reasons. But we were talking about, as our community helper Don has told us 2 years ago, we're not ready for community. We yesterday were like, all right, well, what are like the 4 steps that you need to have in place in order to start community? And I'm asking this because I want to see if this fit sort of your steps chronologically ish. So step one would be like share ideas on social media, as Adam had pointed out earlier.
Or somewhat shared beliefs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beliefs, opinions, whatever, stories. Figure out what ideas, beliefs, stories resonate with your audience. Step 2. 3, actually build that audience, because like, you're not going to know who to build until you figure out what stories resonate. And then 4 and final, like kind of a green light for community, is build enough audience that people are asking for advice and consulting services in your DMs. Does that fit what sort of happened before you launched Pavilion, or did you have a different path?
Slightly different. Again, like if you ask me what's the first thing you need to have a community is you need a point of view in the world. Like you need an us versus them narrative. Like that's which is a way of saying, I hear you that like there are these tactical steps, but like the first thing is like one of the things you said was like figure out what beliefs resonate with your audience. Like that sounds fake to me. Like Adam doesn't have beliefs and he's like testing like what do you guys think if I said this or what do you guys think if I said that? Like I think maybe your beliefs are evolving with, your interaction with the real world, but like fundamentally, this is the reason why you're hard to copy, Adam, is because you believe what you believe, and like you're just being I view the content that you create as like just you trying to be the most you that you could be. I could be wrong about that, but and that's why like inauthenticity and being fake suck. Like it doesn't work because all we crave is like, what are people really like? Who are they really? So for me, the first thing is like you have a point of view on the world and you want to share it. And that's where like organic social media does come into play. But you're not hedging. You're not like, well, if they all yell at me, I guess I won't believe that anymore. What you're really trying to do is like it's as Alec, me and Adam's LinkedIn coach says, you're trying to say that thing where someone says, finally, someone said it, and if you're aligned up with a thing that, the rest of the world has a point of view on, which probably you are because you're in the rest of the world. It's not like you came from Mars and you're like, hey, we should all, be naked and wear slinkies on our arms. You're like, no, it's probably not something you'd say. So my point is like, it's about having a strong enough point of view that frames, I think, the world as like this group of people is, either underserved, victimized, or like just doing it wrong. Let me explain what the right way to do it is. And that clarity, the reason that I'm saying like focus grouping it doesn't really work is because it's the clarity that pierces through, all of the bullshit that you see on social media. Like the thing that people want is they want a point of like they want to follow somebody, they want a point of view, they want a clear idea about the world that they can either reject and think you're a fucking asshole or align with. And that's the whole, so that's like that's the similarity between audience and community, which is that it begins with like a point of view on the world, and then from there, what you start. I mean, I agree with basically the implicit point of like Adam, which is like, what do you need? Do you need WhatsApp? Do you need Slack? Do you need Circle? Sure, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Like the answer can
When
be
it
as
when
good
it's
as
time, anything depending on what you're trying to do would work,
yeah, it's like
right?
whatever way that you can. And really, the first bits of community are like being a camp counselor. It's like put everybody in there and just make sure everybody's having fun, and then wait for just like the same thing as hosting a dinner party, right? Like it's a good, it's a good dinner party when everybody's contributing and you can leave. And that's like the same thing with community. As an introvert, I say that, but like that's the Pavilion originally was a Google group. It wasn't Slack. And it was a Google group that I administered. By the way, as it relates to like us versus them, you got to be really clear about who the community is for, but really, really clear about who the community is not for. And again, when we've made mistakes, it's because we're like trying to kind of be everything to everybody. And sure, you can come in and you can come in. The moments when we had the most resonance and the most success, it was like, you're not allowed, no consultants, no recruiters, no CEOs, no investors. You have to be an operating executive. You have to have achieved a VP level title or above. You have to be referred by somebody else. Only one person per company can join. That stuff, which pisses a lot of people off, that's the thing that pierces through the noise. So, this is who our community is for, 0 to 1 founders trying to bootstrap, but here's who it's not for. It's not for people that are trying to raise venture capital. It's not for people that want to burn capital and, light money on fire and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And
Yeah.
I just know from my own personal experience, there's something about human psychology that like the more clearly you define something that then defines the person you're speaking to, it's like mosquito light.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like the magnetism towards that group for whatever
That's
reason.
right.
It's like, oh my God, like these people are like me, right? Like, thank God, thought I was
Yes.
alone. Um,
Exactly. And
yeah.
the people are fucking right. The reason that everybody liked it when you posted that 6 cents letter or that is because I mean, I think you said it. I think one time when I was interviewing you on a podcast or something, you're like, I get yelled at by my team because I'm posting it on social media before sometimes I share it with the organization. And like that reminded me of Private Parts, the Howard Stern movie, when he's like, listen, I can't, if I moderate myself, like, what is the point of doing it? Like, the whole point is that I'm trying to like put my purest essence, whatever you think of Howard Stern, like out
Right.
there. That's because that's what people want. Like, that is what people crave. They crave like somebody that is not, finally, somebody that is not fucking lying to them.
Hmm. So
Especially
I think,
in the B2B
yeah,
SaaS.
go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to say, especially in the sort of B2B SaaS world or just the professional world where everyone's trying to be, extremely buttoned up, look like they have it all together and not willing to share their failures nearly as much as other domains. So yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you.
So if we're talking about tactics, tactically, we kind of said the same thing. You just said it much more eloquently, I think. It's like we're
I don't
starting
know.
at the same place. You need to like stay, you need to stand for something on social media.
Yes,
Because that's the
100%.
way that's the way you're going to aggregate an audience, which then eventually will become your community. Um, so yeah, that, and then what's a realist like? So I think another place where people fuck up is they look at what Clay did and they're like, well, I'm gonna just start a community and I'll make a Slack channel and I'll have my signups like go in there, and then nothing happens because like the community is to serve, it's like motivated rather than trying to, like you said about the dinner party, have these people interacting with and helping each other. The purpose of the community, in essence, is to like serve the product in the company, which like no one wants to be a part of that, right? It's not really whatever. So like, what is the realistic amount of time that it is going to take? Like, how long was the slow roll from Revenue Collective into Pavilion? Like, you know what I
Been
mean? Like
doing
what?
some form of this since the Brooklyn sales meetup when I met Nicola and Alina Vandenberg, when they were literally on a cocktail napkin chili piper, and that was 2015. So, and then it got, everybody else heard of it maybe in the last couple of years, but I guess it really got going during COVID. So that was like 5 years of
Yeah.
putting people together, bringing people together. So it
And,
takes a while. That's the first thing I say when people say, how do I start something like Pavilion? It's like, well, I wasn't trying to I wasn't trying to do this. Like I was doing it because I enjoyed it, because I wanted to help my friends and because I was having fun. Not, yeah, I know that is fucking crazy.
yeah,
Uh
a
like
decade
20
ago.
a decade ago. Um and that's the number one. I mean, that's again like my fundamental advice to everybody is like take a long-term view of stuff, which nobody wants to hear, but that is the
Yeah.
fundamental advice I have.
And would you be doing anything differently if your community wasn't your business and you were actually also selling a SaaS tool to these people?
I mean, if I had done Pavilion first, then yeah, I would be doing things differently, which is I I would just try again, this is about brand investments fundamentally, right? Like you can say community is its own thing, but I think it's all part of the brand. And what do I think about brand? Which is like what I've learned from Pavilion is what we're talking about in the chat, which is that these things take time. Like you really, if you really want to invest in community, you have to really, really be aggressive about not selling to people, which sounds anathema. Nobody gets that. Nobody gets that like you don't understand. We have people sponsor dinners at Pavilion, right? And it'll be Gong or whatever, Sendoso, whomever. And and the idea is like, well, if they don't get to give like a timeshare, infomercial, like, will people ever really want to buy their thing? And the answer is, of course. All they got to do is say, "Hi, I'm Joe from Gong. Thanks so much for coming, everybody. We're excited to host the dinner." And then you go around to do intros, and everybody's like, "Well, I just want to say I'm a Gong customer, and I love it." And the peer pressure and the social, it doesn't have to be over the head. So the point is like, if you're starting a community, really believe like, I'm not selling to this people. This is a brand investment. I'm building goodwill. Goodwill is built not over quarters, but over years and decades. And I am not going to hold my CMO accountable to like some ROI on this investment. Like this gets to be their fun money. Kyle Lacey always talks about how 20% of the marketing budget needs to have no attribution at all. You just have to like stop it, stop asking. And this is part of that attribution.
So there's just one very, so like, how do you manage not selling with community being your business and having does that
I mean,
like
we sell Pavilion implicitly by
right.
trying to make the membership experience valuable. And yeah, it is hard. It is hard. I mean, the biggest thing you need to have enough, and is it Job or Job? Job Gregory. Maybe it's Gregory Job. Oh, it's Job. Cool. Awesome. Job's talking about like how can you afford to invest in brand? And of course, the answer is like how can you afford not to? But yeah, I mean, it takes a certain amount of patience to be able to do this over a long period of time.
Yeah, cool. Well, that was awesome. Great first segment on community. uh what
Thank
does our audience think? Is everybody going to go start a community now after what Sam said?
I don't know. It's hard.
They're just going to go throw up some Slack channels and push all
I
their.
will say the last thing for anybody that wants to do this, again, like this is true for, Adam's experience in YPO. This is true for what do people want? They want structure. So even if like your version of community, my book is called Kind Folks Finish First. That's what it is called. It's on Amazon. Don't read the review from the engineer that I fired, Danielle Heckman, who said it's worse than waiting in line at the DMV, because I don't feel like that was fair. She also,
Oh my God. Oh my
but
God.
um, anyway, the point is, really hot, like tactical lesson here. If you want to host dinners, if you want to like do anything that involves bringing people together, I just want you to know people want structure and they want rules. So like, what can you do if you're building a Slack community? Obviously, create channels, but moderate the channels. Don't, tell people, for example, in your community, be explicit about the norms. Like, this is how we behave. It's okay, especially if you're not charging people. Like you don't have to just let everybody in and let them do whatever they want. That is not, community is about a set of shared beliefs. And I guess I would add, it's also about a set of rules. This is how we behave. On Tuesdays, we all wear blue shirts. On Thursdays, we all wear green pants. And we don't say, this word to each other because we view it to be offensive. And my point is like, you sit down at a dinner, the worst thing is like these people that run these dinners where you sit down at the dinner, there's nobody ever like says ding 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 ding, hey everybody, thanks for coming. Like there's nothing, you're just like, I guess I'm in the event now because everybody's talking and I happen to sit next to like this out of work, life insurance salesperson. And how do I, that sounds like over at the other end of the table they're saying something interesting. How do I get in on that? And that is like the stuff that people hate. People want a well-tended garden. They want to be told what to do. They like being told what to do. This is how you need to behave if you want to fit in here. So it's okay to say that. That's what I would say.
Can I drop, is this okay if I drop your video about giving a good dinner
Yeah,
in the
go for
chat?
it.
Remember your YouTube? I gotta find it in my email. So maybe
And
Pete
we
can
also
take
have
over.
We have a
Huh?
course in Pavilion that you can take, Adam, if you want to. Well, thank you, Eric. Anyway, FYI.
Yeah,
So
sweet. Okay, let's do the Unfuck My Startup segment. If you want advice from me, Pete, and Sam, put your hand up. We're gonna have a 5-minute conversation where we're gonna get you unstuck with our advice. We have 2 hands
Cool.
up already, Jeremy and Frank. I think that was up from the pitch slap. Uh, should we just go Sammy James since Sammy James was the first
let's do
hand
it.
up? All right, let's
Sammy,
bring Sammy
if you
James
have a
up.
camera, that's best. I'm going to promote you here, and then we'll give you 5 minutes, and we'll give you some swag too for jumping into the fire and you know, tell us your problems and whatnot. Sammy, great to meet you. How you doing?
Good. Am I on? How do I turn my
Yeah.
camera?
On the bottom left, there should be a video.
Okay, I've got an audio. Let's see. No, nothing for camera option.
All right,
So,
let's do.
okay.
Let's not. Yeah, yeah. Let's just do audio now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you guys. Yeah, my frustration is just trying to figure out how to create awareness because I think my problem is that people don't know the company exists or the solution exists. Of course, they might not be a problem aware either. But that's a different story. But so it's like, well, I think what I've come to is need to build a personal brand and become known, liked, and trusted through exposure to a lot of content that people need in a variety of places over time. Is that kind of what marketing is now? And the other channels like cold email and LinkedIn outreach and I don't mean posting, but I mean, kind of DMing people and trying to see if they're a ICP or interested, that kind of stuff. I mean, SEO, all the things you alluded to early. It's like, oh my God, because nothing I'm doing is working now in the last 5 years, 4 years. The lead flow has just kind of stopped. And I've been in business a long time and I was really successful, but I coasted. And now I'm kind of paying for that, for coasting, because I want to grow. I want to grow fast because I'm not going to live forever. So that's my question. I mean, what's the path? And I'm not looking for an easy answer or anything like that. But if it's the long, slow path, then that's okay. I'll go. I'll keep going. But if it's and I have a lot of happy customers, but I just don't have enough of them. So I'm not sure what to focus on really.
Have
What does
you?
your business do, Sammy?
What we do is um, we turn forms into phone calls first and foremost. So we were kind of the first people to convert a form into a phone call back in 2007. And we've been doing that because what it does is it enables the sales team to respond to a lead within 60 seconds with a phone call and then automate the persistence. So those are the two number one drivers, speed and persistence. Assuming a conversation is job one, in terms of inbound from a form, which in most cases in B2C it is. B2B, maybe not as much. So it works phenomenally well. I mean, it comes down to giving, um, by capitalizing on that 60-second window and being persistent, you just end up speaking to more of the leads you've already invested in. So, and then now with AI, we can now say, oh yeah, and we can capture 100% of your inbound, whether it comes in via a phone call or a form, because if you're not available, then the call will be routed to the AI phone rep who will take it and set the meeting for you. So now you've got 100% containment of all opportunities that you've spent a lot of money on. I mean, if you're buying Angie leads at $50 or $100 a pop, and you don't call that lead within seconds, you're going to lose to a competitor. So, I could go on and on, but it just works because I'm the kind of person that I would never continue this if it didn't work, right? I don't want to try to hype someone on something and convince them that it's great. I just want it to be great, to have immediate time to revenue, value evident. And so my retention rates are 7 years. I've got clients that have been with me 10, 12, 15 years. So I know that it works, but I'm just frustrated that it doesn't seem that the world knows we exist. Or if they do, I've found the only people that really want this. And that could be too. I don't know.
Sammy, real quick, could you share your URL in the chat? Some folks have.
Sure.
That'd be good.
Who's your buyer persona? Who are you selling this to?
I'd say somebody who is RevOps or VP sales, someone who's has the job of converting inbound leads into sales. So they are responsible for making sure that the sales team is converting the leads, and so they're
Yeah.
distributing those leads and then doing what they do. So in
And do
some
you have
cases,
anybody? Do you have any customers who are like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen
oh,
in my life"?
absolutely, yeah, of course.
So,
I don't see any social proof on here.
what I would be doing is trying to figure out of those customers who are like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah.
I would be recording them on video saying that, and then I would be trying to figure out exactly what the companies are that they work for and their characteristics, and then trying to find their exact role at another company very manually if it takes showing up in front of that person in person at an industry event and then like
Mm-hmm.
playing that video of that other person who's in their same role at an identical company talking about exactly why your product is the greatest thing since sliced bread,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
seeing the reaction of that person. Like, that's where I would start. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
like, find your most successful customer and try to find people exactly like them, how, with whatever means necessary. And
Mm-hmm.
then I would also try to if you can do that, and there is this universe of people, I would then try to find very influential people who are like them, who know a lot of them, and get
Mm-hmm.
them on board. And then this thing can naturally get going. Um,
Okay.
but, but like, to me, I'd be curious if Sam and Pete think the same way. Simply saying RevOps or VP of whatever, it seems untargeted to me.
Well, it varies by industry. Like in education, it's the director of admissions who's generally the person. Or if it's a home services company, maybe roofing company, it's typically the owner is involved, right? So it does vary by the type of client. Or it was a COO at Optima Tax, okay, for example, who found us. It does vary. But I think the thing I think that they all have in common is they're very metric minded. They're optimizers. They're never satisfied. They want to squeeze more juice out of every lead they get. They want to do better. They want to convert more. It's kind of like the same people, I guess, that use Unbounce or something, or some landing page optimization tool. That's great for converting them into leads, but ours is the next step: convert the leads into customers. So, I was thinking it was sort of built with might be, at one path, and then like the lookalike customers of my best customers I like to replicate, okay, I know who they are. I can pull 10 or 20 of them and say, okay, and if I could use some AI or something and to help me match up uh, lookalikes in some database or scrape them from somewhere, because I think I hear what you're sort of saying that too, but you're also
I'm saying
saying
my contention is like niche down, find a vertical, find a
mm,
niche that you are just absolutely a crusher for,
hmm
and
hmm
then go see if you can sell more into that niche. If they
Okay.
love you, then go find influencers in that niche to start
Okay.
talking about you. And that's the way the world turns.
Got it.
Sammy, we're going to give you thank you for coming on. We're going to give you a swag box.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I just want
Okay.
to agree with Adam. Like, I think horizontal, like broadly horizontal is it's hard to get like a center of gravity. It's hard to get like that kinetic energy of like the same people bumping into each other, sharing. Like, if people love the product, but you're not getting inbounds from word of mouth, then those people aren't connected to each other.
Yeah,
So
totally.
Totally agree.
Um,
Just to give an anecdote on that, like around the same time Adam, I think, launched Robly, there was another email marketing company, Robly, with This is his first business. It's where I met him. I was an SDR there. And it was just an email marketing company for everybody. And then this company ConvertKit came out. It was an email marketing company for food bloggers, which was so niche, and they literally ran circles around us from a growth perspective. So
It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like it. That was the story that came to mind. So yeah, be the equivalent of the sign up form to call thing for food bloggers. Who is your food blogger? Who can you get in front of that meets that criteria? Now, on the same topic, our last segment, Sam, you talk to a lot of early stage founders, you observe a lot of early stage SaaS. I want to ask you, everybody wants to know, what is working right now for people for growth? We all want to grow more. We're all frustrated with all of these channels. What are the most successful people doing in your world at the early stage?
I have really boring answers to this. All right, let me tell you, my friend Asid, who you know, Adam, and who I run a Top Line podcast with, he runs Sales Talent Agency. It's a recruiting firm, and they just had their best month ever. And he mentioned, I think he said on the show, so I can say it, that they just did 1.4, just in January, and it's like 15 people work at the company, and super high margin business. So what is it that he does? So first of all, obviously, like, he writes a newsletter, he's on a podcast, he's creating content. He's creating content, and he has a distinctive point of view, and point of view on the world. The second thing that he's doing is he is just fucking meticulous about product and customer experience. And so word of mouth, right? So like they've done a couple good work, they've done some good work with, Marlin Equity Partners, and all of a sudden Francisco Capital calls them, and then HIG calls them, and then, some other Insight Partners calls them. So they're getting all of these. Yes, people do read newsletters. Actually, if they're good, like that's the thing about all of this is, like, do people answer the phone? Sometimes. I mean, do people read social media? Sure. Do people watch videos on YouTube? Sure. They don't watch shitty videos, they watch good videos. So, like, does the world need another restaurant? I don't know. If Daniel Boulud's starting it, then maybe it does. Restaurants are a perfect example of, like, a business where, like, there's obviously 10 million competitors, and yet the good ones still bubble up to the surface. So what I think is working is word of mouth and original content creation with a point of view, which is what you're doing, Adam, which is what I'm doing too.
Yeah, and interestingly, I turned off 100,000 a month of marketing, and our B2B grew 9% in January. Like it just doesn't, it does make sense, but like it's just it is that. And by the way, we're gonna shill our community. This is what we're talking about. It's like, do the manual one-to-one work until you're getting referrals, and don't do anything else. Until you're getting referrals without asking for them, you have
I
to
think
manually
I think
get,
that's great advice. 'Cause I
yeah,
mean, you said that to me when we were prepping, and I agree with that. Like,
yeah.
if it also, but to the point of that guy Sammy, like, if you're not, if the lead flow is completely undistributed and you feel like you have a great product, then your customers are too heterogeneous. Because if them there needs to be a center of, like, there needs to be enough people join Pavilion when they're like, I've heard about Pavilion from 5 different people. It's just time to join. But imagine if they only heard about it once every 2 years, because there's not enough people of the same type that are ever connecting with each other.
Mhm.
I think ICP focus is really important.
Yeah, totally.
yeah, we talked about
Dude,
creating a echo chamber within a very small bubble before you bubble out. I mean, that's
Yeah, no, seriously, I love that Robley example. Like, that is so cool,
is
and
we didn't do
markets
that, by
are.
the way. I wish I wish I would have. That was ConvertKit. And I had never seen anything like it. Not only did he do that, he was able to create this incredible viral marketing loop, because these food bloggers are also, like, kind of make their money on affiliate. So like, they're sending out that they switched to ConvertKit, and all the other bloggers read their blog, and they're clicking the affiliate link and signing up for ConvertKit. It's just unbelievable. Uh, Unbelievable. There's so many unbelievable company examples in the email space. I could go on about MailChimp for like 10 hours with all that I've studied them. Best business I've ever, best execution ever. Bootstrapped, $12 billion exit. Did a product for free that no one thought could be free. It's just unbelievable. Sam, this was awesome. Where can people find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn.
Besides Barcelona, in the hospital at some point over the next couple days.
Hopefully, you know, we're hoping for at least 2 weeks. We'll see.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we were live when I shared all that info. Thank you. That is my that's my LinkedIn handle. If you want to join Pavilion, you can go to joinpavilion.com, learn more. We're actually talking a lot about this a lot beginning, I think, tomorrow with CMO School. So if you're interested in learning how to do marketing, that's a great place. But otherwise, let's hang out together on LinkedIn.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much. Look forward to doing a lot of stuff with you in 2025 and beyond.
Thank you,
You're
sir.
an awesome guest. Your
All right.
insights are golden.
God bless all of you. God bless
Oh yeah,
us.
who's next week, Pete? We
So
have Bethany talking about personalized AI generated video, don't we?
That's right. We're going to come to you live from the retention / RB2B offsite in Mexico. So we'll have a different background. I'll try to pull Adam from whatever he's doing at that time, trying to connect with everybody on the team. But Bethany Stachenfeld, CEO, founder of SenseSpark. We're going to talk video prospecting and all things video, honestly, AI video. It's going to be great. Hope you all tune in. Sam, you're the man. Thank you so much. Come back, please.
Thank you all. Have a great evening. Bye.
Thanks, Sam. Take care. Bye, everybody.